You're unmute.
Am I audible?
Yes, you missed that.
May it please this honorable court, this is Counsel O1 and O2 representing the appellant in the matter of Sadashiv Balchandra versus State of Maharashtra. I am Counsel Speaker O1 and my co-counsel is Speaker O2 not to tell anyone till her birthday party. But on that day itself, Kasturi told everything to Mr. Desai, and within few minutes, Mr. Desai forcefully took Savita to Ranjangaon and left her at the house of Mr. Nandkumar, a distant relative. The next day, that is 1st July 2019, Savita left the house of a relative, telephoned Mr. Balchandra from a PCO asking him to meet her. After that, they went straight away. She voluntarily got into the car of Mr. Balchandra. They went to Siddhivinayak Mandir and got married there. Later, they went to several places and they were found later in Goa by the police who were investigating a complaint of kidnapping made by Mr. Manoj Desai. Mr. Sadashiv Balchandra was charged under Section 363 of Indian Penal Code and was convicted by both Metropolitan Magistrate Court and the Sessions Court. Uh, shall I move to the issues?
Yes.
I will be dealing with issue 1 and issue 2, and my co-counsel will be dealing with issue 3 and issue 4. So, issue 1 is whether the appeal to the Honorable Bombay High Court is maintainable. Section 374(2) of Code of Criminal Procedure Code states any person convicted may appeal to the High Court against a judgment passed by the Sessions Judge.
374(2) counsel you're reading?
Yes. Or an additional Sessions Judge or on a trial held by any other court wherein a sentence of imprisonment for 7 years or less was passed. For instance, when a judgment is passed by the Sessions Judge imprisoning the defendant for 5 years, then such a defendant can appeal to the High Court if he thinks the judgment was unfair. Moving
Counsel, I would like to ask you one thing. In your facts, it is stated that the appellant, that the accused was firstly convicted by the Sessions Court. Then his conviction was upheld by the, firstly convicted by the magistrate. Then his conviction was upheld by the Sessions Court. So he had already appealed to the Sessions Court. Now you are before High Court. So will it become an appeal or what will it be? Since his appeal was already dismissed by the Sessions Court, his conviction was upheld, now he's before the High Court. Does he fall within the ambit of Section 374 of CRPC?
I think yes.
Let's read Section 374 again.
Okay. Shall I?
Yes.
Any person convicted may appeal to the High Court against a judgment passed by the Session Judge or an additional Sessions Judge or on a trial held by any other court wherein a sentence of imprisonment for 7 years or less was passed. For instance, when a judgment is passed by the Sessions Judge imprisoning the defendant for 5 years.
In a criminal trial, it's never a defendant. Okay, it's always the accused.
Okay, I apologize. For 5 years, then such a defendant can appeal to the High Court if he thinks the judgment was unfair.
Very well, go ahead.
Okay, I'll move on to issue 2. So my issue 2 is whether or not
whether your client is still in custody or he's out on bail.
Nothing is mentioned in the facts as such. Shall I go ahead?
Yes.
Whether or not the offense of kidnapping has been committed by the appellant. The offense of kidnapping is defined under Section 361 of the Indian Penal Code as follows. Section 361 states, whoever takes or entices any minor under 16 years of age if a male or under 18 years of age if a female or any person of unsound mind out of the keeping of the lawful guardian of such minor or person of unsound mind without the consent of such guardian is said to kidnap such minor or person from lawful guardianship. The appellant has been convicted under Section 363 of Indian Penal Code by Metropolitan Magistrate Court and the Sessions Court. And Section 363 states, whoever kidnaps any person from India or from lawful guardianship shall be punished with the imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 7 years and shall also be liable to fine. So, taking or enticing away a minor out of the keeping of the lawful guardian is an essential ingredient of the offense of kidnapping. But what we have to find out is whether the part played by the appellant amounts to taking of Savita out of the keeping of her father. So, after Savita's father, Mr. Desai, found out about the affair she was having with Mr. Balchandra, she had been left at the house of Mr. Nand Kumar, a distant relative, on 30th June 2019 by Mr. Desai. The next day, that is 1st July 2019, Savita left the house of her relative and at around 10 a.m. and telephoned Mr. Bal Chandra from a PCO asking him to meet her. It is nowhere mentioned in the fact that she left the house of a relative at the instance or even suggestion of the appellant. It was she herself who voluntarily left the house of her relative, telephoned Mr. Balchandra, asked him to meet her, and she voluntarily got into the car of the appellant. And then they went to Siddhivinayak Mandir and got married there. In these circumstances, we find nothing from which an inference could be drawn that the part played by the appellant had been guilty of taking away Savita out of the keeping of her father.
As far as taking is concerned, it's okay. What about the enticing part? Because the facts of your case are such that he had asked her to marry him. She said
Uh,
no in the beginning. He persuaded her to marry, that to come to a decision. So whether how does that persuasion not
uh,
get you out of the enticing part comes in?
he persuaded her to get married, but he didn't tell her to run away from her relative's house or, marry without the consent of her father.
But the incident that has happened, the proximity of the incident and the persuasion is there. So how do you deal with that? The her decision of leaving her uncle's or her father's house would have been influenced by his persuasion of her asking to marry him.
As the facts are
So as far as
mentioned,
taking part is concerned, it's all right. But what about the enticing part?
so he as far as the facts are mentioned, he persuaded her for marriage and he didn't tell her to just run away from your relative's house and just get married within few
It
days.
may not be in the exact
He
words,
didn't give her
counsel.
a
It may not be in
timeline.
the exact
And
words.
it is mentioned that he proposed her for marriage because she was going to turn 18 within few months. So she was going to turn major, and after being a major, it is her right to decide what is wrong and what is right for her.
Very well. You have any case law in your favor?
Uh, yeah, I will.
Very
May I?
good. Or you want to cite it later? It's okay.
Yeah, I'll cite it. Yeah. Thank you. So all this thus proves that the appellant did not commit the offense of kidnapping. This similar incident has taken place in the case of S. Varadarajan versus State of Madras. Uh, Please refer to page 5, para 2 of the compendium.
Page 5. 1 minute. Huh? Your team O, right?
Yes,
Is it the highlighted part?
yes. I'll read it.
Yes.
Okay. It will thus be seen that taking or enticing away a minor out of the keeping of a lawful guardian is an essential ingredient of the offense of kidnapping. Here, we are not concerned with enticement, but what we have to find out is whether the part played by the appellant amounts to taking out of the keeping of the lawful guardian of Savitri. We have no doubt that though Savitri had left by S. Natarajan at the house of his relative K. Natarajan, she still continued to be in the lawful keeping of the former. But then the question remains as to what is it which the appellant did that constitutes in law taking. There is not a word in the deposition of Savitri from which an inference could be drawn that she left the house of K. Natarajan at the instance or even a suggestion of the appellant. In fact, she candidly admits that on the morning of October 1st, she herself telephoned to the appellant to meet her in his car at a certain place, went up to the place, and finding him waiting in the car, got into that car of her own accord. And in the present case, the part played by the appellant does not amount to taking or even enticing of Savita out of the lawful guardian as she voluntarily called the appellant.
But again, that's the question that I asked you was same. There is a difference between the facts of the case that you've cited and the facts of the present case. Because in the present case, there has been a clear persuasion on the part of the accused to marry him.
So it was a good persuasion.
And then, as it has been held in Natarajan's case, also there has to be a nexus between the act committed by the accused and the decision of the victim to leave her house on her own. Now, in our case, if you see that there is a nexus in between the act of the accused and her
Going
leaving
up.
the house. So how do you deal with that?
Sorry for disturbance. 10
Yes.
minutes.
All right. You may continue. You have 2 more minutes.
Yeah. So it was held in S. Varadarajan that no offense under Section 363 has been established against the appellant and that he is therefore entitled to acquittal. Accordingly, we allow the appeal and set aside the conviction and sentence passed upon him. And in another case, Lajja Devi versus State, please refer to page 52.51 of the compendium.
52.
52.51.
Yes.
So the Honorable High Court held that if the girl is more
It
than
was
16,
also an appeal against conviction. What was it?
no, it was Lajja Devi filing a writ petition because her daughter ran away with a person.
Okay.
So it was the Honorable High Court held that if the girl is more than 16 years and the girl makes a statement that she went with her consent and the statement and consent is without any force or undue influence, the statement could be accepted and court will be within its power to quash the proceedings under Section 363 or 376. So in the present case also Savita is more than 16 years. So her consent should also be taken into consideration.
Very well.
So I would like to end it here that in my opinion, the offense of kidnapping has not been committed by the appellant. So if your ladyship is satisfied with the arguments, my co-counsel will continue with next two issues.
Yes.
Thank you.
Your Ladyship, this is Speaker O2, and I'll be dealing with the third and the fourth issue. The third issue is whether a minor can be said to have reached the age of discretion and thereby walk away from the lawful guardianship of her parents. As per subsection 6C of the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act 1956, in the case of a married minor girl, the husband shall be the natural guardian.
Oto, can you just increase your volume a little bit? Little bit.
This is fine?
Yeah, this is.
Section 17(3) of the Guardians and Ward Act states that if a minor is old enough to form an intelligent preference, the court may consider that preference. I would like to cite the case of Dhirendra Patel alias Johnny versus State of UP on 6 February 2019. In this case, the Learned
Page number?
Counsel, page number 17, last paragraph.
Got it.
In this case, the Learned Counsel for the appellant placed reliance on the case of
This is also an appeal against conviction?
Yes.
Continue.
Versus State of Madras, 1965. Para 7 states that the question whether a minor can abandon the guardianship of his or her own guardian, and if so, the further question whether Savitri could, in acting as she did, be said to have abandoned her father's guardianship may perhaps not be very easy to answer. Fortunately, however, it is not necessary for us to answer either of them upon the view which we take on the other question raised before us, and that is taking of Savitri out of the keeping of her father has not been established. In our case also, my co-counsel already explained that the part played by the appellant did not amount to taking. So the appeal was also allowed in the case of S. Varadarajan and in the case of Dhirendra Patel. I would like to cite another case of G.
But the
Sarvanan.
section clearly mentions age of the victim as 18, counsel. The section clearly mentions the age to be 18.
Sorry?
And the section clearly mentions that the age of a female should be 18 to constitute an offense under section 361 to come within the definition of section 361 of IPC. Moreover, coupled with the I'm hell-bent in the fact of persuasion, because if a girl was 17-year-old on her own, if she would have decided it was, I would have taken into consideration. But here initially she had not agreed to marry the accused and he had persuaded her.
He persuaded her in a good faith. He did not tell her, he did not force her again and again. He just told her that we can marry each other because he knew firstly she was going to turn 18 and they were not going to marry each other right away. he would have obviously waited for her to turn 18, and then after that he was he told her that we could marry. And even when she went from places to places, that is the places that we have shown, that from Kolhapur to Pune to Goa, and at these places also not once she thought that she could come back to her parents' house. She was firm on her decision and she continued to stay with him, which we can say that she was happy with him.
Continue.
I would like to cite another case of G. Sarvanan versus the Commissioner of Police, Trichy City and others, page 59 of the compendium.
Similar facts, counsel?
Yes.
Continue.
Should I read? Yeah. Point 22, the above provision makes it very clear that what is relevant is the welfare of the minor, and what is very significant, as if the minor is old enough to form an intelligent preference, then the court could consider that preference. Therefore, the wishes of a minor need to be seriously considered by the court where the minor is old enough. In the present case, the detainee was born on 17 November 1994, as seen from her birth certificate, which means that she is above 16 years of age. Hence, her preference should definitely be considered in the interest of her welfare. In our case, Savita is 17 and she's about to turn 18 in a
Was
few
this a
months.
criminal? Was this a criminal proceeding? The judgment that is in.
Yes.
Very.
Uh, Next, page 50 of the compendium.
I got it.
The preference of a minor who is old enough to make an independent preference are to be considered by this court. Most importantly, the welfare of the minor is to be the paramount consideration. Point 25. In the instant case, the detainee is a minor girl who is married to the petitioner. Her natural guardian is no longer her father, but her husband, and he shall be the guardian of the minor wife. The detainee has refused to live with her parents and has categorically expressed her desire and wish to live with her husband. Sending her alone to her home against her will is also not in the interest of the welfare of the minor. If she is sent to the home against her will, it is tantamount to her detention against her will, and it would be violative of her life guaranteed under Section 21 of the Constitution of India. Point 26. Therefore, considering the detainee's welfare, which is the paramount importance, we are of the view that her welfare would be best served if she has to live with her husband, who has promised to give her love and affection. Further, she would have support of her adoptive mother-in-law, who has already welcomed her. Sending her to her parents' place is not advisable, as the minor herself says that her liberty is curtailed and her movements are restricted. The decision of Savita running away with Mr. Bal Chandra and marrying him is still going to remain the same after her becoming a major. This decision of her is not going to be affected in a few months, or not that her maturity is going to change drastically. Even when she left the house of her relative to run away with Mr. Bal Chandra and went from places to places, that is first to Siddhivinayak Mandir to get married, then to Rainwoods Motel, Pune, Kolhapur, Belgaum, and Goa, not once it came to her mind to go back to her parents' house. Staying with him for so many days and still wanting to not go back home indicates that she was happy with the appellant. She was mature and capable enough to take that decision, and nobody can compel her to go to her father's house if she expresses her desire not to. Since she is going to become a major, she can abandon the guardianship of her parents and is free to go wherever she wants. May I proceed with the fourth issue?
Yes.
So, the fourth issue is whether a marriage contracted by a person with a female of less than 18 years could be said to be a valid marriage.
Yes.
For the marriage of a minor to be void, it should fulfill the circumstances stated in the Section 12 of the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006. Section 12 of the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act states that marriage of a minor child to be void in certain circumstances where a child being a minor A is taken or enticed out of the keeping of the lawful guardian, or B by force, compelled, or by any deceitful means induced to go from any place, or C is sold for the purpose of marriage and made to go through a form of marriage, or if the minor is married after which the minor is sold or trafficked or used for immoral purposes, such a marriage shall be null and void. One of the essential ingredients of the offense of kidnapping is taking and enticing away a minor out of the keeping of the lawful guardian. My co-counsel already explained in issue number 2 that the offense of kidnapping is not committed by the appellant, so the circumstance stated in section 12A is not fulfilled. It is
What about
already
the Hindu Marriage Act? What is the minimum age under the Indian law? What is the minimum age required for a female to
18.
yes, and in this case our victim was not 18 years old.
Yes, but according to the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act, a child marriage is voidable and not void. So, if the child wants to, you know, if the child doesn't want to get married after the age of 18, then she can file a divorce, but till the age of 20. So, she has 2 years to decide what she wants to do. So, it is not completely void; it is voidable.
Continue.
It is already mentioned in the fact that Savita voluntarily decided to run away with Mr. Balchandra and was not forced or compelled to go anywhere with the appellant. Thus, the circumstance stated in section 12B is also not fulfilled. As far as section 12C is concerned, which talks about selling of the child for the purpose of marriage, such a situation is nowhere mentioned in the facts, and hence this circumstance is not fulfilled. Since all the circumstances are not fulfilled, we cannot say that the marriage is void. Section 3 of the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006 states that child marriage is to be voidable at the option of a contracting party being a child. Every child marriage, whether solemnized before or after the commencement of this act, shall be voidable at the option of the contracting party who was a child at the time of marriage, provided that a petition for annulling a child marriage by the decree of nullity may be filed in the district court only by contracting party to the marriage who was a child at the time of marriage. Hindu law classifies marriages into three categories, namely valid marriage, void marriage, and voidable marriage. We have seen that voidable marriage
Sorry,
remains.
what did you say? 2 minutes left.
Yes.
Okay.
However, the marriage is voidable, it still remains valid and binding and continues to subsist for all purposes unless a decree is passed by the competent court annulling the same. Yes, we cannot say that a voidable marriage is a valid marriage in the strict sense. The term valid denotes the converse of the term invalid. So, in other words, we can say that a voidable marriage is not invalid. But in
Does it
G.
absolve you from the criminal liability? Does it absolve you from the criminal liability? Does it take away your act from the purview of section 361 of IPC?
But here the consent of the child is all the consent of the minor, that is Savita, is already there. So we should take that consent into the matter before charging any sections on the appellant.
All right, go ahead. Continue.
But in G. Sarvanan's case, which we already saw, the division bench has held that a marriage between a boy aged more than 21 years and a girl less than 18 years is not voidable. In that, they had already stated that such a marriage is celebrated contravention of the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act as a valid marriage. If your ladyship is satisfied with the arguments advanced, I would like to proceed to the prayer.
Yes.
Wherefore, in the light of the legal precedent and in the light of sections applied and arguments advanced, it is most humbly pleaded before the Honorable Court that this court set aside the conviction and sentence passed by the Metropolitan Magistrate Court and Sessions Court and acquit the appellant.
And should I release him? He's still in custody or no?
We don't know whether he's still in the custody or no.
Very.
Time's up.
Just give me 2 minutes. Yes. Nurita, you can start.
May it please this honorable court that this is Counsel P1 on behalf of the respondent in the case of Sadashiv Balachandra versus the state of Maharashtra. Counsel P1 will be Speaker 1 and my co-counsel P2 will be Speaker 2. The counsel seeks permission to address you as your ladyship.
Yes.
Much
You may
of counsel seeks permission to present the facts of the case.
present it in brief. In your own words, in brief. You need not read the entire sheet.
All right. Mr. Savita Desai, aged 17 years, lived with her parents and a sister in Mumbai. Her neighbor, Mr. Sadashiv Balachandra, was not well-to-do and he was recently fired. Savita became friends with Sadashiv Balachandra a few months before 30th June 2019. They carried out conversation from their balconies and eventually they started getting close. Sadashiv Balachandra proposed marriage to Savita on the 14th of February of 2019. It was a few months before her 18th birthday. Savita rejected the marriage initially, but due to constant persuasion by Mr. Sadashiv, she decided to cave in. On 30th June, Kasturi, the sister of Savita, saw the couple talking at night. She questioned Savita about it. Savita told her that Mr. Sadashiv had asked her. Kasturi told all about this conversation to her father. Her father expressed severe discontent. He spoke to Savita about it and she did not utter a word and started crying. Then, after a few minutes, Mr. Desai decided to send Savita to Ranjangaon to his relative's place where she could be safe and away from Mr. Sadashiv. The next morning on July 1st of 2019, Savita decided to get out of Mr. Nandkumar's house and go to a local PCO and call Mr. Sadashiv. She did that and he told him to meet her at a street where they both had been before, and he came in his father's car and they fled to Siddhivinayak temple where he took her and he married her. Then he took her to several places, starting from Rainwoods Motel, Kolhapur, Belgaum, Goa. And they were finally caught by police in Goa who were investigating the missing report filed by Mr. Desai.
It was a missing report or a kidnapping report, Counsel?
Kidnapping report. Sorry for the ignorance. Yeah. So, Mr. Sadashiv Balachandra was convicted by the magistrate and the sessions court, and his conviction was upheld. He now has an appeal to the High Court.
That is what is the jurisdiction of the High Court in this? What are the proceedings that have been filed?
Section 363 of the IPC.
No, I'm asking under what provisions has he come before the High Court?
Section 174 of the CRPC.
Section 174? Read again, Counsel. Which section?
Yes.
He's been convicted by the magistrate. His conviction has been upheld by the sessions court. Now, what is the proceedings that has to be filed by a accused to approach the High Court?
Section 374(2) of the CRPC.
Very. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Counsel seeks permission to move to the first issue.
Yes.
The first issue is that the counsel would like to point out whether Savita was a minor at the time of her marriage. According to the facts of the case, it is clearly stated that as on the 14th of February 2019, she was a few months away from her 18th birthday. It clearly states that she was a minor at the time of her marriage on 1st July 2019. In Child Marriage Restraint Act of 1929, it defines that child means a person who, if a male has not completed 21 years of age, and a female who has not completed 18 years of age. Whoever, being a male about 21 years of age, contracts a child marriage shall be punishable with a simple imprisonment, which may extend to 3 months and shall be liable to fine. In the case of State of Delhi versus Kapil, in the compendium on page number 4,
Sorry, page number?
page number 4, first point.
This is a judgment of which court?
Uh, the Delhi District Court.
Am I supposed to rely on this judgment? I'm sitting in High Court, High Court Jurisdiction Council. Very well, you read.
All right.
Page?
Page 4.
Page. Okay.
Paragraph number 1.
Yes. The numbered paragraph 1 or
The numbered point 1.
all right. Begin. You may read. I've got it. You need not share it on the screen. I have it on my phone.
Sorry for the inconvenience, but I'll need 1 minute.
You need not share it. You need not share screen. I have it on my phone.
Yes, yes. Your ladyship, I'm extremely sorry. It's page number 6, not 4.
Yeah, the marked portion right there.
Yes, the 13th one. As per the allegations of the prosecution from on 14/04/2011 at 1:30 p.m. from house number A765, camp number 2, Nangloi, Delhi, the accused had kidnapped a minor prosecutrix from the lawful guardianship of her parents without the consent. Without consent, yeah.
Never say yeah in a courtroom counsel.
I'm sorry. Yes. The council will now move on the second issue, whether Savita was married without her consent. It is clearly present in the statement of facts that initially Mr. Sadashiv had proposed marriage to Savita and she declined. Then, on further persuasion by Mr. Sadashiv, she finally agreed. Mr. Sadashiv clearly manipulated her because she was a minor and she had a sensitive mind. No consent was given by Savita's parents for the marriage. According to Section 5 of the Hindu Marriage Act, a marriage may be solemnized between any two Hindus if the following conditions are fulfilled. The bridegroom has completed the age of 21 years. The bride, the age of 18 years at the time of the marriage. My co-counsel will support more arguments upon the Hindu Marriage Act. The marriage of Savita Desai and Sadashiv Malachandra is voidable and it subsists. We request the court to get it annulled under the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act. The council would
Section 3. How do you deal with Section 363 council? How do you deal about his acts forming a part, coming under the purview of section of the definition of kidnapping under Section 361? I want to know that. Because the facts state that she called him from her uncle's place. She left the house on her own. How do you deal with that part? How does the enticing and taking away be attributed to the accused in the present case? Satisfy me on that point.
Okay, that comes in my next issue. Okay. The
And she
third
being
issue.
very well a girl of 17 years about to turn 18.
Yes. The council would like to move on to the third issue, whether the present appeal is maintainable. The council strongly believes that this appeal has no solid ground, and we move for it to be repealed in your honorable court. This appeal has been repealed once. Mr. Sadashiv was convicted in both magistrate and sessions court under section 363 of the IPC. The council requests the court to refer to page number 55.70.
55.
Yes.
2 minutes left.
Just sum it up.
Okay, so
55, the marked portion.
the marked portion, yes.
Yes. What was this case?
This case, um, this case is Shah Jahan versus the state of Kerala.
No, but what was it? Also a criminal appeal? What was it?
It wasn't a criminal appeal. It was
All right, continue.
361 of the IPC. The object in this section seems as much to protect minor children from being seduced for improper
One
purposes.
minute. Can you just tell me the page number again? I'm so sorry.
Page number 55, yes, point 17. So in the first line, it says, to protect the minor children from being seduced for improper purposes as to protect the rights and privileges of guardians having the lawful charge or custody of their minor wards. The word states entices any minor out of keeping of the lawful guardian of such manner are significant. The use of the word keeping in the context denotes the idea of charge, protection, maintenance, and control. Further, the guardian's charge to control appears to be compatible with the independence of action and movement of the minor. The judgment refers to section 361 of the IPC, which states that whoever takes or entices any minor under age 16, if a male, and if age 18 if a female, or any person of an unsound mind without the consent of such guardian is said to kidnap such minor or person from a lawful guardian. Section 363 of the IPC lays down punishment for the offense of kidnapping. Whoever kidnaps any person from India or under a lawful guardianship shall be punished with imprisonment of entire description for a term which may be extended to 7 years and shall be liable to fine. Kindly refer to point 8 on page 64 of the compendium.
Yes, got it. Read.
We must therefore hold that section 361, the expression lawfully guardian, includes the legal guardian as well as a person who has become the guardian of the minor or lawful manner. In this case, Mr. Nandakumar has become the lawful guardian because she was sent there with the consent of her father. We also hold that a person is said to be lawfully entrusted with care or custody of the minor or the lunatic if it is shown that the care or custody of such ward was given to him by a person who was of the legal guardian of the ward or was his lawful guardian.
But where is the part of about enticing and taking away counsel? As far as lawful guardianship is concerned, okay. But what about the essential ingredients of section 361, that is enticing and taking away? You tell me how the accused has done both of these things, enticing and taking away.
The accused,
the facts of your case and the section that reads enticing and taking.
it is clearly mentioned in the facts that the accused persuaded her to get married to him. And then we have no details about the phone call that happened from Mr. Nandakumar's house. And she is a minor.
It's done by her. That is done by her. She herself called him. Where is the enticing and taking away and all of that?
There is a clear evidence before that he persuaded her for marriage, and there is a very high scope that he can persuade her to do anything he wants.
Okay, continue.
If your lordship is content with the arguments raised by Speaker P1, then this council would like to invite my co-counsel P2 to deal with the rest of the contentions.
Yes.
Much obliged.
May I please this honorable court? This is Counsel P2 on behalf of the respondent in the case of Sadashiv Balchandra versus State of Maharashtra. This counsel seeks permission to address the bench as your ladyship.
Yes, grant.
Much obliged.
Just
Counsel-
increase the volume a little bit. Little bit.
Is it audible?
Yeah. Thank you.
Counsel seeks permission to move to the fourth issue.
Yes.
Whether the act of Sadashiv amounted to kidnapping under Section 361 of the Indian Penal Code. Section 361 of the Indian Penal Code defines the offense of kidnapping from lawful guardianship as follows. Whoever takes or entices any minor under 16 years of age if a female, or under 18 years of age, under 16 years of age if a male, or under 18 years of age if a female, or any person of unsound mind out of the keeping of the lawful guardian of such a minor or person of unsound mind without the consent of the guardian, it is said to kidnap such minor or person from lawful guardianship. A careful analyzation of the above definition will reveal that taking or enticing away a minor out of keeping of the lawful guardian is undoubtedly an essential ingredient of the offense of kidnapping. In order to constitute the word taking, the consent of minor here is immaterial. It may be recalled that the law, by providing that the mental attitude of the minor is not of relevance in the case of taking, recognizes that the minors are incapable of forming an independent judgment in respect of their own actions, and the consent of the lawful guardian must be taken into consideration. In the case of Shahjahan versus State of Kerala, your ladyship, can you please move your attention to page 54, point number 14.
54. The highlighted paragraph, right?
Yes, your ladyship. Honorable High Court of Kerala held that before the charge of kidnapping is held to be proved, the following ingredients must be established. That P1 is a girl below the age of 18 years. Second, that she was in keeping of her guardian PW10. Third, that she had gone out of the keeping of the lawful guardian without the consent of the guardian. Fourth, the accused must have taken or enticed her out of the keeping of her lawful guardian. Irrespective of the fact that Mr. Desai kept Savita at Mr. Nandakumar's house, Mr. Desai still continued to be her lawful guardian, and as the fact says, Mr. Desai hadn't consented this marriage. Similarly, even though taking is essential to constitute the offense of kidnapping, yet actual physical taking of the girl is not necessary. It is sufficient if the accused persuaded her either at the time she left or earlier to leave her house, or to go away with him by persuasion or blandishment. Your Lordship, if we look at the facts initially, Savita wasn't willing to get married, but on further persuasion, Your Lordship, note the word persuasion here. She agreed to get married. It was Mr. Sadashiv who persuaded the minor, and being a young girl, she got scared and agreed for the marriage. Moreover, enticing the minor is another important aspect, which is an essential ingredient for an offense of kidnapping to be proved. Your Ladyship, if we closely look at the facts, Mr. Sadashiv had promised Savita to take her to watch a film and to celebrate once he receives his first pay. Mr. Sadashiv aptly knew that Savita, being a teenager, would easily fall prey to this offers, as teenagers love to watch films and celebrate occasionally. We can't blame the minor because that's the mindset of teenagers who are in their early
But
adulthood.
counsel, here your victim was almost about to turn 18. She was 17 and a few months old. and again which has been held by the Honorable Supreme Court in Vardarajan's case, she had reached an age of discretion where she could make a judgment on her own whether she wants to marry someone or no. So she had reached the age of discretion, and the other acts that have been committed by her of leaving on her own uh, do not in some way cannot be attributed to the enticing part on the part of the accused, considering her age. She was not of a very tender age. She was not someone who was, from a rural area, or she was not aware of what is happening, or who could succumb to someone's influence like that. She was a very well educated girl living in Mumbai who could make her own decisions. So how the persuasion on the part of the accused could bring him within the ambit of section 361 of enticing and taking away.
Your ladyship, facts say that the accused Sadashiv persuaded her to, initially she wasn't ready for the marriage, but accused Sadashiv persuaded her to get married, and after his persuasion, she got ready to get married. We don't know what type of persuasion was done on behalf of the accused, how he persuaded her. It may be he would have threatened her to get married, or he would, if she didn't marry, he would do anything which shouldn't have been done. So it's nowhere mentioned what type of persuasion was done by Sadashiv. So we can make a conclusion out of this that the persuasion was so strong that Savita had to agree to get married. And after she was at the relatives, her distant relatives' house, she called. It's nowhere mentioned that why did she call. She just called to meet the accused in her vicinity. It's nowhere mentioned that what was the decision she was going to take when she called, or when she called the accused. We agree that Savita voluntarily got into the car, but after that we don't know what conversation was going on between them. Did Savita actually agree to go to Siddhivinayak temple and marry? What persuasion was done by him? It's only mentioned that she only voluntarily got into the car. She did. It's nowhere written that she accepted to go to the temple, get married, and travel to various places with him. So we can draw a conclusion that maybe Savita would have refused to marry. She knew the gravity of this situation, that her father was keeping her away from the accused. She knew. So maybe she would have called the accused to refuse to get married. But she entered the car voluntarily, but we didn't know what happened after that. Maybe the accused took her forcefully to Siddhivinayak temple, got married there, and he traveled various places. He could have traveled to one place and stayed there, and after some time he would have returned to his house. But he traveled to various places to not leave any trace behind him, and finally in Belgaum he was found by the police.
All right, continue.
In conclusion, it may be stated that the word taking can be interpreted so as to include all cases of direct and indirect enticements and persuasions made by a person to effect the intention of the minor to leave the guardian. It is not of material significance to determine who takes the initiative. The subsequent assistance of the accused in accomplishing the minor's intent to leave her guardian constitutes a taking. Your Ladyship, this council seeks permission to move to the fifth issue.
Yes.
Whether the marriage of Mr. Sadashiv and Savita was valid according to the Hindu Marriage Act 1955. Your Ladyship, Section 5 of the Hindu Marriage Act defines the conditions for a valid Hindu marriage. It states that a marriage may be solemnized between two Hindus if the following conditions are fulfilled. Namely, first, neither party has a spouse living at the time of the marriage. Second, at the time of marriage, neither party, subsection A, is incapable of giving a valid consent to it in consequence of the unsoundness of mind, or though capable of giving a valid consent, has been suffering from mental disorder or such a kind, or to such an extent as to be unfit for marriage and the procreation of child, or C, has been subject to recurrent attacks of insanity or epilepsy. Third, the bridegroom has completed the age of 21 years and the bride the age of 18 years at the time of marriage. Fourth, the parties are not within the degrees of prohibited relationship unless the custom of usage of governing each of them permits of a marriage between two. And fifth, the parties are not subpoenas of each other unless the custom or usage governing each of them permits of a marriage between two. Your
Sorry
ladyship,
for
if you
disturbance.
could,
1 minute left.
okay,
Just sum it up.
your ladyship, if you could move your attention to point number 3 of section 5 of the Hindu Marriage Act, you will notice that the permissible age for a Hindu bride to get married in India is 18 years. Whereas in our case, Savita got married to Sadashiv at the age of 17, which is not permissible by law in India. And the appellant has violated section 18, subsection A of the Hindu Marriage Act. Section 18 of the Hindu Marriage Act defines punishment for contravention of certain other conditions of a Hindu marriage. It states that every person who procures a marriage himself or herself to be solemnized under this act in contravention of the conditions specified in clauses 3, 4, and 5 of the section 5 shall be punishable. In the case of contravention of the conditions specified in clause 3 of section 5, it's simple imprisonment which may extend to 15 days or with fine which may extend to 1,000 rupees or with both. Therefore, the council strongly feels that the appellant should be punished for violating section 18 of the Hindu Marriage Act. Your lordship, your ladyship, if you're content with the arguments, the council would like to move to the prayer.
Yes, go ahead.
In the light of the issues raised, arguments advanced, and authorities cited, the counsel for respondent humbly prays before the Honorable Court be graciously pleased to uphold the judgments of the Metropolitan Magistrate Court and the Sessions Court and adjudge the appellant guilty of the offence of kidnapping under section 363 of the Indian Penal Code, pass any other order or judgment which the court may deem fit in the light of justice, equity, or conscience. For this act of kindness, the counsel for the respondent will be humble forever.
Do we have any rebuttals?
Yes, your ladyship.
Go ahead.
Firstly, when they cited
Or
the
to just hold your microphone a little closer.
yes, sorry. Firstly, when they cited the case of the Delhi District Court, it should not be valid because we are in the High Court. We have appealed in the High Court. Secondly, when they said manipulated, nowhere it is mentioned that the appellant manipulated. And I would like to tell you the definition of persuasion. It is inducing someone through argument. We cannot say that there were argument because we don't know how he had persuaded her. It can be in good faith also. And maintainability, I would like to talk about maintainability. A criminal case always has a right to appeal, and as my co-counsel already stated in issue 1, under section 374(2), the appellant has the right for appeal. Nextly, when they said that Savita had called from Nand Kumar's house, it's wrong. She went out of the house and she called from the PCO. We can say that she didn't want her relative to know. That is why she didn't call from home and she called from outside. And when she called, it is obvious that if she called on her own, then she wanted to go away with him, or else why would she even call him? Because if she wanted to stay at her relative's house, she would have stayed there and she would have stayed safe. So we can say that she called herself and she wanted to go with the appellant. Consent of the minor, when they spoke about consent of the minor is not valid, no, the consent of the minor should be taken into consideration, and anyway she was going to become 18. Secondly, about the Hindu Marriage Act, uh, your ladyship, would you refer to page 57 of our compendium?
One, just give me. Page 57.
Yes.
Yes.
Point number 12. Further, section 13(2), subsection 4 of the Hindu Marriage Act enables a wife to go for petition for dissolution of her marriage on the ground that her marriage was solemnized before she attained the age of 15 years and she repudiated the marriage after attaining that age, but before attaining the age of 18 years. Thus, it shows that even a marriage of a minor is regarded as a valid one and can only be dissolved on her petition, provided that she repudiates the marriage between the time she's 15 and 18 years old. That's it for rebuttal.
Sir, rebuttals?
No.
No, the team lead, do you have any sir rebuttal?
Yes, I do.
You're not visible, Kamsa.
Yes. For the first thing, both the O1 and O2 said Savitri instead of Savita several times when they were mentioning the case. Then O1 claimed that the persuasion by the appellant was good persuasion. We would like to know how it was good persuasion when she decided to run away from a lawful guardian. O2 claimed that the appellant said we could marry. It is nowhere mentioned that the appellant said that we could marry. Also, there is no evidence about Savita's will when she traveled to all these places. She must have felt trapped. She did not know what to do. She was a child and he was taking her to all these places. Maybe there was no escape. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nurita, I think we're done.
Your ladyship, I would like to add a bit.
Okay. Just quickly.
Your ladyship, as we see in the facts, when this whole matter was communicated by Kasturi, Savita's sister, to their father, the father questioned Savita about this, but she didn't utter a word, and she left from there. We cannot tell what type of persuasion it was. Otherwise, she would have communicated everything to her father. If her intentions were true, if they were pure, she would have. If the intentions of the accused were pure, she would have communicated all the things which happened between them to her father, which she didn't. So we can't tell if the persuasion was a good persuasion or a bad persuasion, but she didn't utter a word about it, and she started weeping and left from there. So maybe it was a type of persuasion where he threatened her, and she wasn't able to speak on her own as she was a minor. She wasn't able to take decisions for her own. Therefore, she didn't utter a word, started weeping, and left from there.
That's it?
Yes.
Madam, we can total the marks.
Yes, I'll take 5 minutes. Is that all right?
Yes, yes. Till that time, I'll introduce you.
All right. So I'll put my
Yes, yes. Okay. Since we have with us today Madam Siddhi Bhosle, who passed her 10th with the flying marks. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, thank you, Nurita. Madam passed her 10th with the flying colors, that is 90.45%. Then she cleared her junior college from Ruya College in Science with a 71.38%. She is our ex-student. She completed her LLB degree from our college, and also she did diploma in cyber law. Presently, she is pursuing LLM in Constitution Law from Mumbai University, and she is gold medalist at Mumbai University and secured first rank in entire Mumbai University in her final year. It was, and she was also awarded Jahangir Gold Medal at the Mumbai University annual competition ceremony, and she secured highest mark in IS in an entire Mumbai University. She was also awarded gold medal by Sri Justice Parshikar for being highest foreign female in her final year. She secured highest mark in various subjects like logic, English, political science, constitutions, and uh, also she participated over 10 books, moot court competition, and many other competitions such as national level moot court competitions, debates, education, client counseling, etc. And she also took some uh, lectures on legal topics for a student like us. So it's a really a great, ma'am, that we have you here today, and you're enlightening us with your knowledge. Thank you, ma'am. You can declare the results once you are.
Thank you, Arti. It's always a pleasure to come back to our college. It's an honor.
Always a pleasure. It's
Just give
Yes,
me
ma'am.
2 more minutes, okay? 2 more minutes.
Yes,
it's
I'm just
always a
sure,
adding.
ma'am.
pleasure to have you, ma'am. Um, uh, I have been told that you have to just declare the winner and you can't reveal the marks. That will be done
Marks.
I'm just
tomorrow.
calculating.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Just
you.
give me 2.
Thank you.
Participants, you can turn your videos on.
Sorry, my calculator was acting funny, so I took time. It was a very close call, guys. Very, very close. Uh, but I had to. So it's ready, ready, ready.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Hello.
It's
Do you want
yeah.
to give
Can
the
everyone
first?
hear me?
Do you want to give the first feedback first, or will you do that later?
But am I allowed to give
Yes,
feedback?
yes, yeah, you're allowed.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay, so your research was very, very good, everyone. But I don't know if they have the same case for finals, so I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to
Yes.
disclose a few things. But there are some issues with the thing that you all will learn after you do a little more research. But your presentation was very good. Your etiquettes, the way you all were arguing, it was very good. Your understanding of the problem was very good. And to be able to find the loopholes in facts and to twist them in your favor is a very good thing, which I really liked in both the teams, especially about the persuasion part. The way both the teams dealt with the persuasion in their own favor was really very good. Secondly, overall your research was very good, and I really really like that's what I'm saying. It's a very tough call today. So anything else you all want to ask me, you can.
If you all have any doubts related to any questions
Yeah,
she asked, you can go ahead and feel free to ask her. Nobody? Okay.
No doubt.
okay, so it's team O which got more points than
Okay.
the other team. So team O is the winner of this
Congratulations.
round, but it was a very very close call, very close call.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
Don't
right.
lose heart, please. Keep participating and enjoying.
I'm just
Yes.
going to take one screenshot, okay, because we
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to upload it. So please, everybody smile. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Nurita.
I
Thank you,
will.
everyone. And Nurita,
Yes.
Aarti, great management, great coordination.
Thank you.
I really liking the way you all are handling all this online. I mean, when we could physically, we used to have a tough time. But you all are doing very well, very
Thank
well.
you.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
All the best, everyone. Congratulations.
Thank you,
Sorry,
ma'am.
I had to like
Thank you.
Yes.
one
I will.
team.
Thank you.
I will give
Thank you.
vote
Thank you
of
so much, ma'am. Thank
thanks.
you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Yes.
I ended.
Yes, yes.
I will give a vote of
Oh,
thanks.
okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
On behalf of all, I would like to thank our today's judge, Advocate Ma'am, Advocate Siddhi Bhosle Ma'am, to being here today and enlightening us with all the knowledge and helping us to juniors to know
Aarti,
the.
I can't hear you. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, ma'am. Am I audible now?
Speak a
Hello?
little louder.
Am I audible now?
Raining over here,
Yeah.
so you know.
Hello?
Yeah, yeah, you're audible.
Yeah,
Fine.
now just speak a little
Yeah.
louder.
Yes, yes, yes. So I was saying that on behalf of all, I would like to thank you, ma'am, to be here today with us and
Thanks.
judging this competition and helping juniors to know the important or delicate points about the etiquettes or the knowledge regarding arguments. I would also thank our principal, Professor Vaishali Gurav, and Gurav ma'am, and our faculty in charge, Professor Rani ma'am, and also definitely our participants because of which we are able to conduct such competition. So please guys keep your hopes up and always participate because that will give you the benefit in future. And thank you so much everyone, everyone. And be safe.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,